Alright, what is up, my conspiracy? Okay, this looks stupid. Alright, what is up, my theorists? This is Mendiku coming at you with another video. Today, for my new show, Strange Cults. Okay, so, let's begin. In the 1950s, Krishna Venta convinced his followers in the Fountain of the World cult that he was the present incarnation of Jesus Christ. Krishna Venta gave birth to himself as a new incarnation of Jesus Christ in 1951. After long arduous troubles with the law and a long string of failures and other more mundane endeavors, the Messiah had been born in San Francisco in 1911 under the Earth name of Francis Penkovic, and it was under that name that he studied theology in 1941 while living in Phoenix, Arizona. He was held and questioned by the police, allegedly writing and threatening a letter to President Franklin Delano Roosevelt. Later, he transformed himself to Frank Jensen and committed a number of petty theft and burglaries. It was sometime after he was placed in a hospital for psychiatric evaluation that he received the supernatural word that he should metamorph himself once again, this time into Krishna Venta. Once he convinced himself that he was the son of God, it did not take long for him to convince others of his divine credentials. The mystic resplendent in his yellow robes, persuaded his followers that in 1932 he had teleported himself to the United States from the Valley of the Masters below Mount Everest. He had lived in Nepal for centuries, having originally arrived on Earth in a spaceship from the planet Neophraites. He told his disciples that he was ageless. It seemed that in no time at all he had ordained a priesthood composed of donors to the cause of the Fountain of the World, as he called his enterprise, refusing admittance only to those who did not come bearing gifts. Beautiful women, however, could enter by virtue of their physical attributes. A benefactor large donation enabled the Fountain of the World to purchase 26 acres in the beautiful Box Canyon, about 45 miles northwest of Los Angeles. In the early 1950s, a non-profit corporation was formed in California with Krishna Venta as president. Under him were 12 disciples. All applicants were technically required to bequeath to Fountain of the World and all earthly wealth that they possessed. From the beginning, Krishna was determined not to run out of the state by the authorities. He earnestly set about creating good public relations, training his followers in disaster aid and other socially helpful fields. Of special note was the skill of the Fountain of the World cultists as firefighters. Timber fires in this section of California were a menace, and when one was reported, Krishna Venta at the scene in his station wagon to supervise the construction of fire breaks and trenches to combat the blaze. As noble as all this might seem, what probably caused the Messiah's downfall was his penchant for racing to the fires and company of young, beautiful women disciples. He had the back of the station wagon outfitted with a mattress, and whenever there was a break in the firefighting, Krishna would steal away with a lovely disciple. The doctrine of the Fountain of the World allowed its members to The doctrine of the Fountain of the World allowed its members the unrestrained use of tobacco or alcohol, but it ordered a tight rein on their sexual desires. It was not, of course, that Krishna was against sex. He most heartily wished to keep the cult's personal expression of sexual activity away from the unfavorable scrutiny of the public eye. He did not want rumors of orgies and free love to excite his more conservative neighbors. Most of the true followers went along with the cult's rules and got married before they engaged in a serious or regular sexual intercourse. As one might suppose, as the spiritual master of the Fountain of the World, Krishna Venta reserved the right to dally with whichever woman he chose. On occasion, his sexual indulgence was cloaked under the guise of various subterfuges, some religious and therapeutic. Most, however, he simply willed into bed a host of mistresses. Krishna's image of a perfect savior began to melt. He went to Los Angeles and lost a great deal of money at the craps tables, claiming that he had done so only to see how sinners conducted themselves in that city of glaring neon and clattering slot machines. Traveled to London on a missionary tour, but reporters reached his followers that even though the British had given him a cool reception, he stayed in expensive hotels and lived in the grand style as if he was visiting Raha. Once back home in Box Canyon, he continued to eat nothing but the finest foods while his disciples were left to scrounge for themselves. Finally, his annoyed followers began to question his validity of messiahship. As it was too often the case with cult leaders, Krishna Venta had failed in his relationship with his own subjects. Great in sexual promiscuity had ensnared him, and he had come to believe his own pronouncements that it was only truly what he proclaimed to be just as invincible. The spiritual straw that broke the faithful's back in the discovery of his two disciples, Ralph Mueller and Peter Kamenoff, that were their wives had been summoned to their gurus' private so it was private orgies in the back of his infamous station wagon. Such knowledge proved to be more than that they can endure, and became to Catholic element that brought them to the door of the Fountain of the World's Administration Building on the fateful evening of December 10th, 1958, when a bundle of dynamite borne by Mueller and Kamenoff was detonated. The two-story administration building disintegrated along with Krishna Venta, his two assassins, and 7 other members of the cult. Alright, I'm sorry that I was kind of out of it. Just woke up. I was like, you know what, I didn't make a video in a couple of days, so I'll make one. It's really interesting. How can our eyes be right? What's the quote? How can mirrors be real if our eyes aren't real? But yeah, no. Have a good day, my theorists, and as usual, be good to yourself and your parents and everyone you love and people.